So we're going to talk about creating virtual meetings. We have to make a couple of decisions, and before we get any further, I want to mention that this is all happening on a Windows machine. These three platforms are available for Mac and will have similar looks to them. So the first decision we have to make is which platform we're going to use. I've put the top three platforms into this video that the UW-Madison uses. They have their pros and cons, and they have different features, but mostly it's about which one you prefer to use, which one you get the best video and audio from, and which one you like the look of the best. It's personal preference at this point. The second decision you have to make is to choose the version, whether you're using the desktop application or the online version. There's really clear pros and cons with these two. The online version is great when you're borrowing a computer because the application is going to look the same no matter where you are. The desktop application will need to be updated because it's an installed application on your computer. So you have to make sure that that's updated, but there are extra features in all three desktop applications than there are online. So if you're looking for a feature with the online version and you can't find it, it just might not be available with the online version. Then we're going to go through scheduling a meeting and creating ad hoc meetings, and I'll also show you a little bit about some Outlook plugins that are available for each of these three. So let's get started by firing up Zoom. So once I open up Zoom, it goes to my home page, and it's very clear as to what we can do here. We can either do a new meeting right now, and we can start with audio or video or not, and we can schedule a meeting. So let's do an instant meeting here. I'm going to click on the orange camera, and the desktop application loads and connects me and asks if I want to join with my computer audio, which I will say yes. Now, once I've got this empty meeting room, you'll notice that there are no participants. And at the bottom of the participant page, I see a little button for invite. So if I click on invite, I'm given a number of options. I can use contacts that I've already stored in the system or used, but I can also go to email here. And if I click on default email, I've set this up to work with Outlook. It will create a meeting invite or an email with the meeting link. If I go back to that invite option, I can also copy the invite link, and I can also copy the invitation. And the difference between the two is the link is just the link to log on, and the invitation includes the phone numbers if they want to call in instead. And that's creating an ad hoc meeting in Zoom. So what about a scheduled meeting? Well, let's go into the scheduling option. Here I can change the name of what my meeting is going to be, set my date and time and duration. If you go past the duration that it's set for, you may get a pop-up notice during your meeting, but you'll be able to extend it. So the duration isn't really necessary to put specifically unless you want that to show up in their calendar correctly. The time zone is really important. Make sure you select that properly. And then I typically leave a lot of this stuff default. The few things that I've changed over the time I've used it are to click off of the waiting room. I want people to just jump right into the meeting, and to also uncheck mute participants upon entry. And then I also check allow participants to join at any time. Those three items I found have made for smoother meetings. And then you would just save that, and let's do one right now. And when I hit save, it's now speaking with Outlook and creates an actual appointment for my Outlook calendar. So that is using Zoom. We're going to go ahead and close Zoom out. And now we're going to switch over to Microsoft Teams. And I'll go through the online versions of these as well. So my Microsoft Teams default page is the calendar. This is what I use the most. And we've got the two options in the top right here, to meet now or to do a new meeting. There's a third option in Microsoft Teams, which is calls. And if I click on calls, I can find people in the system or people that I talk to the most, and I can do a video call or a telephone call with them from here directly. And then it acts more like Skype, where it calls them immediately. If we go back to the calendar, there's one more key thing I should show you, which is when you integrate your Outlook with everything, all of your meetings show up. So for instance, this meeting I have scheduled for is a Zoom meeting, so you don't see anything but the edit capability. Whereas this meeting here is an MS Teams meeting, so I have the join button available. So let's go ahead and create an ad hoc meeting. We're going to meet now. And it gives me the option of previewing. I've turned my video off. So we're going to just jump right into this meeting here. And now I'm in an empty meeting room. And if I type the person's name here and they are found in the system, as soon as I click on their name or hit enter, they'll be called just like with the call feature. If I don't want to call them right away, or if I don't know if they're available or not, I can click on this copy join info, this little chain link, and that will copy the join info and I can paste that into an email or any other document. So that's an ad hoc meeting with Microsoft Teams. Let's go ahead and schedule a meeting. And here it just looks like a normal scheduling where we can put the title, put in people's names. It'll search our database for them or their email addresses and the rest of your details. All right, so that is Microsoft Teams. Let's go ahead and take a look at WebEx. So the WebEx app is a little bit smaller than the others. You'll see it's not a full screen, but it does have all the features that we're looking for. Here are all my meetings, all my calendar appointments. And then at the top here I've got start a meeting or schedule a meeting. Now with WebEx they call these personal rooms when we start a meeting. So the link up here under my name is actually the link to my personal room. I can click on this the two little rectangles on the corner here and copy that link information, and when I send that to people they can use that meeting room at any time if I'm there. They can go there ahead of me if I have that in my settings and wait for me, but that link will never change. So if I go ahead and do an ad hoc meeting, we're going to start a meeting. It actually opened up in my other screen, so give me just a moment here while I move it over. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and start my meeting. Once again, I'm in an empty meeting room with no one to join me. And if I go to participant, we're going to see copy meeting link, which is again going to copy all of the information to our clipboard, and we can put that into an email, or we can go to participant and go to invite and remind. Here I can put someone's email address and click send, or click invite with my local email, and it will open up in Outlook. If I hit send, it will send an invite from WebEx. And if I had people invited to this meeting, I would be able to click on their name and send an email reminder, all using Outlook. So that is how we can do an ad hoc meeting with WebEx. Let's go ahead and schedule a meeting with WebEx. So we click the schedule button, and this is one of the only things I don't like. This opens up an empty meeting box for Outlook. I can paste the personal meeting room in here, but it doesn't have anything else in here, which I don't like to do. So this is one of the only features I don't like, which is the schedule button on the WebEx desktop doesn't really work for me. I usually log on to their website to do that. So, speaking of logging onto their website, let's take a look at the web versions of each of these. So here we have Zoom. I'm going to sign in right here, and it will normally ask you for your NetID and do authentication at that point. But this is my Zoom main meeting or main page, and there's all kinds of things to click on and play with, but what we're focusing on is scheduling a meeting. So if you look at the top right here, we have schedule a meeting or host a meeting. So let's host a meeting. We'll do an ad hoc meeting, and schedule a meeting will give you that option for scheduling as we've seen. And here are all the scheduling options. If I click on host a meeting, Zoom actually will download a temporary installation of the Zoom desktop client. If I already have it installed, it switches over to that client, so I can't really show you what it looks like, but that is one way to do it if you don't have Zoom installed. The Microsoft Teams web page looks like this, and I will put the URLs in the description. They really want you to use the desktop application, so Get the Windows app is highlighted and easy to see, but we're going to use the web app instead. And that just brings us to a web version of what we were looking at. And it starts with my Teams page, and I'm going to go to my calendar here. And then I have the option of doing a new meeting, scheduling a meeting, and you could schedule it for the exact same time and send that out to people. That's another way of doing an ad hoc meeting. So that's how you can do Teams online. And then with WebEx, we're going to go into the sign-in, and again it'll ask for your NetID and your email address. Go through the NetID process, and once it comes up, we'll be able to schedule a meeting. Now remember, this is the one that the desktop client did not do scheduling very well, so let's look at what scheduling does here. If I go to schedule a meeting, now I get the things that I want to change. With WebEx, there are some things that you want to leave the same. So for instance, this meeting type we never really want to change. I have made templates in the past, but you typically want to stick with the default template. It requires you to choose a meeting topic and have a password, but the password is automatically generated, so you never have to worry about that. And if we go to show advanced options, that gives us more options, including the ability to put an agenda in with the meeting information. So that is those sites. And the last thing I want to show off are the plugins available on Outlook. So if we bring up our Outlook and we go to our calendar, you'll notice at the top of my Outlook I have a couple of options. I've got these two Zoom buttons here, schedule a meeting and start an instant meeting. And then I also have a new Teams meeting option. And if I go to new appointment, I will have a WebEx option. And using any of these buttons, you can easily set up a meeting and schedule it for whenever you want. That is it. Thank you, and let me know if you have any questions.